WLBT News starts now with breaking news.
It comes from downtown Jackson, where a major street had to be closed this morning after an officer-involved shooting.
3 News 5's Claire Cole is joining us live in the studio this morning with all the details. Claire, what can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right, guys. Well, MBI is now investigating an officer-involved shooting that happened near Pearl Street and President Street in downtown Jackson. Now, MBI says an officer was patrolling the area when a security guard reported someone carrying a weapon. The officer located the subject, who then fled, leading to a chase on foot. MBI says the individual then discharged his gun at the officer, and the officer fired back. The individual was then transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Now, MBI says the officer did not receive any serious physical injuries, and they are currently investigating the incident. Claire Cole, 3 on your side.
All right, Claire, of course, we'll follow this story in the day ahead, and we'll let you know what we